Well, hello there. Happy Friday. Welcome into another edition of GC Live. Got some baseball talk for y'all today. I'm your host, Jack Veltri, joined as always by my friend, 2010 College World Series champion and former right-handed pitcher for your South Carolina Gamecocks, Ethan Carter. Ethan, we did a Saturday show last week. We said we were going to do Thursday. And then I had something come up yesterday that I was not going to miss. I had a chance to go out and watch some March Madness yesterday as we got the shirt here to represent. So I was out in Greenville yesterday. So we had to postpone the show and we're doing it here on Friday instead. But yeah, it's good to be here talking with you, man. We got a big weekend ahead, huh?
Oh yeah, number 4 team in the country coming into town. Does I mean it's what the SEC is, so it does, but it doesn't get much bigger than that when top 5 rolls into town. Early in the season or early in the conference season.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend ahead as the Gamecocks take on number 4 Arkansas out of Founders Park this weekend. We'll preview, talk a lot about the series ahead, give our predictions, of course. But before we get rolling, got to talk to you guys real quick about our main show sponsor, Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you're in the market to buy a home, give a call to our guy, Clint. He's been in the mortgage industry now for 20 years. He is a lifelong Gamecock fan and also a longtime supporter of Gamecock Central. He's been the presenting show sponsor of GC Live for as long as I can remember now. So if you are, again, in the market to buy a home, give him a call, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597, or go to clinthammond.com for more information. All right, so the state of this baseball program, let's not sugarcoat it, Ethan, is it's not looking too bright right now. I think a lot of people are kind of just fed up with what's going on. Gamecocks lost a ugly one on Tuesday to Charlotte. They've now dropped 5 games to mid-major opponents this season. Did not happen at all last year, and it was coming off a sweep to Charlotte, or I'm sorry, to Florida, and you've lost 5 games in a row. Your thoughts on what you've seen lately?
It doesn't, to what you just said, it doesn't get much lower than this. And I mean, the old Simpsons line. It's the worst it's ever been. No, it's the worst right now. It can always get lower, I guess. But yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. You battled Florida pretty good Friday and Saturday. The offense just was non-existent, and then Sunday is kind of a thing that's been a recurring trend under Coach Maneri. You get blown out on Sunday, not even really a competitive game, and then you turn around and you get a nice I think it was 5-2 lead against Charlotte, and then just absolutely just fall apart as a team and drop that 8-11. Just it doesn't. This is the lowest the program's been in. I started getting recruited in 2005. So I've been around this program for, crazy to say, over 20 years now. And this is the far and away the lowest it's ever been, since I've been, near or around this program, and it's incredibly disappointing.
It is disappointing, and it's more so disappointing because of what happened last year. You
Yep.
retained Paul Maneri, and you seemingly gave him the resources to work with to build the team that he envisioned and thought that would lead to more success. And on paper, he put together what it looked to be a better roster. I still think this is in terms of talent, I actually think this is a more talented team than last year. But they're
Yes.
underperforming. They are performing way worse than last year's team did. They're making silly mistakes in the field. They're dropping pop-ups. They're dropping fly balls in the outfield. They're making bad throws, bad pickoff throws. I can't tell you. I mean, they lead the SEC in errors, but it feels like a lot of these mistakes are so avoidable. What's not avoidable, at least right now, is just the way this team's hitting. I think that's got to be the biggest concern right now, aside from the lack of good defense. They're terrible at fundamentals, but with this offense, we were expecting the offense to be the strength of the team this year. They brought in a ton of guys from the portal that were like, 10, 15, 20 home run guys at their previous stops. And when you have a weekend where you have just 11 hits, I think it was, I mean, it's not going to cut it by any means. So is there a simple solution to fixing the offensive problems? Because I feel like we don't have a great feel on that. You ask Coach Maneri, he doesn't really give you much of an answer. He just says, I'm not sure, and we're going to change the lineup around, and we're just hoping guys can get better. Well, hope isn't necessarily something South Carolina has much of right now, so I don't think hope is necessarily the right answer. Is there anything in your eyes that would lead to better results offensively? Is it simply just hoping it gets better, or what do you think?
So it's nothing's ever as black and white as it seems. I mean, you just kind of look at it. The guys you brought in to be really good players have been below average, and that's probably being kind at this point. I don't think anybody saw Will Craddock that was going to lead this team in offense. And I mean, other than Talmadge LeCroy here and there, and some KJ Scobie sightings. Other than those three, this lineup has been incredibly disappointing. Dawson Harmon, I don't have the stats in front of me. I have Charlotte's stats in front of me right now. But Dawson Harmon's got to be hitting around 200. Ethan Lozama's hitting around 200 with no home runs. And those two guys were supposed to be in the middle of your lineup. Logan Sutter, another game with multiple strikeouts. It's at some point these guys that you brought in have to play up to the pedigree. I didn't watch these guys last year, so I don't know if there was a change in approach or mechanics that happened when they got to SC, and now they've forgotten how to hit. But as frustrating as the coaching staff has been, some of these players have got to take some pride in what they're doing themselves and find a way to fix it. This is an old roster. Again, other than a couple guys that are young and playing, like Craddock, Riley Goodman's still pretty young. This is an old team. Like you got a bunch of juniors, seniors. Whether it's been D2 or not D2, JUCO or other D1s, like this is an older team. Some of this does fall on the players to step up and have some pride in what you're putting out there, because this is embarrassing for such a storied program, and it's still weird to talk about it like this for such an expensive roster, compared to other programs. You're 3 games above 500. That's and you're spending close to $10 million, I think, on this baseball program as a whole. That's embarrassing. Like I know I keep coming back to that word. I don't know another word to use.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the numbers here. South Carolina's got the worst offense in the SEC right now. They're hitting 260 as a team, 27 homers, 117 RBIs. The RBIs are the least in the SEC. For reference, the highest amount of RBIs, Georgia's got 222 RBIs, and they have 100 more RBIs than South Carolina has this year. Arkansas, surprisingly, is actually kind of right in the same boat as South Carolina offensively. Like, Arkansas is hitting 290, 26 homers, 133 RBIs, 463 slugging. I mean, they're kind of actually, like, this is actually an even matchup, it looks like, from an offensive standpoint. But the problem is South Carolina just can't seem to get out of its own way offensively. I mean, the Gamecocks are not really surprised here, because we heard Paul Maneri talk about before how they don't take walks, they earn walks. Well, they're earning the least amount of walks in the SEC right now.
Yeah,
they're actually striking out as much as we talked about last year, how they didn't strike out a ton. They're middle of the pack when it comes to striking out. They're actually in the upper echelon of the SEC in striking out. On-base percentage is worse than any team in the country, and not really a surprise here, but they've made far more errors and have the lowest fielding percentage than any team in the country. Oh, and by the way, they had the least amount of stolen bases in the SEC. So,
and I'm sure they give up the most. I mean, As great as Talmadge has been, I say great, as well as Talmadge has played offensively this year. I mean, these guys. I mean, teams are just Do we play Kentucky this year? I don't know if Kentucky's playing the same brand of baseball they played last year.
But that's how they've played the last few years is stealing bases. By the way, South Carolina,
might steal. Yeah.
So teams have stolen. There's been 40 stolen base attempts on South Carolina, and they've thrown out 7 runners. So, I'm looking at the rest of the league. The next highest total of stolen base attempts against is 26. So we're talking
Kentucky's going to steal 30 bases in April.
Teams are going to take advantage of South Carolina because of this obvious weakness. They have so many weaknesses, but this is certainly one of them. So the offense is not good. The offense is not good. The hitters you paid a lot of money for are just not producing. Tyler Box hitting 250. Dawson Harmon's hitting 210. Lazama hasn't hit any homers yet. Logan Sutter's been up and down. I mean, this is a lineup that when everyone's clicking, it can lead a turnaround. I would say so. I think it can get this team going. But then you see what happens when the offense isn't hitting. You get a weekend like you did against Florida where you score one, you have one inning where you actually score runs. The rest of the weekend, you were held scoreless. That's quite frankly embarrassing, and I don't know what you do other than there's only so many times you can flip the lineup around, and Paul has flipped it around plenty. I'm sure it's going to look completely different tonight. It just does not lead to anything better results. And you're facing good pitching. That's the other thing. You're going to be facing some really solid pitching for Arkansas this weekend, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Just these guys for Arkansas on the mound, they don't walk guys. They strike out batters. And I hate to be, negative Nancy here, but man, I'm just not really optimistic about this weekend or the rest of the season in general. And, I think we have a question somewhere in here about it. I'm not expecting a good crowd this weekend either. This is it's the negative train we're on right now, and I hate it being like this. I don't want to have to talk. I wish we were talking like what it was 2-3 years ago, where this team was actually doing really well. Adam asks the big question here. Let's say South Carolina gets swept, no fans come out. Could that give the AD an idea to fire Paul? And I think that's the question that needs to. I feel like that's mostly what the title of this stream's about. What's at stake for South Carolina this weekend? Is Paul Mainieri coaching for just to stay alive in his job in a lot of ways? Because if South Carolina gets off to an 0-6 start, then I don't know. You have 2 months left to go in the season. There's still a long way to go, but the season's pretty much in the fryer if you get off to an 0-6 start. And I don't really see the harm in making a move because I think you just know by the end of the year, this is where it's heading. Let's not stray away from the fact. If this continues, Paul Mainieri will not be at South Carolina after this year. I just don't. You brought him back for this season. You gave him money to work with. You let him build his roster, and the results have been worse than last year. And I would not be. This is not insider intel. This is just my thoughts here. Because I really don't know what they're going to do, but I just feel like it would not be the craziest thing in the world to move on from him after this weekend if he gets swept and just turn the keys over to Monty and see what he can do. He was the player's pick for head coach to begin with, so why not give him a chance?
To your point, this is even if they somehow figure out, let's be realistic. They're not going to go on some incredible tear to end the season. Best case scenario, they kind of right the ship and they finish 500 in the conference, and maybe they sneak in as one of the last at-larges for a regional somewhere. And that is best case at this point.
And so is it even realistic that they're going finishing 500 in the conference is going 15 wins? Is this team even going to have 15 wins overall?
No shot.
The rest of the way? It's just – I'll let you continue. But man, it's not going to get – it just doesn't feel – until we see a clear shift in something, whether that's the offense showing up. And if South Carolina goes out here and sweeps Arkansas this weekend, I don't think that changes a lot. but it certainly shows you like where the heck's this been, but it just doesn't feel like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I Coach Ranieri is a Hall of Fame coach. There's no doubt about it. But he doesn't seem to inspire these guys. Like these guys don't look excited about being at the ballpark most days. And I'm watching on TV, so I don't get to be around the BP and all of that. But just like seeing these guys on the field, there doesn't seem to be any pep, any like juice. Clemson Friday night was fun. I think that's the closest this program has looked on a game day experience that's looked to some of the really good years. And then that was quickly washed away with a loss on Saturday, loss on Sunday, and it's just it's lifeless. And it doesn't get any. We didn't really talk about it, Saturday morning, but it doesn't get easier. You've got Arkansas this weekend, then you've got North Carolina, then you've got Georgia, who we just mentioned is leading the conference and scoring right now. Then you've got Texas, and it's just like it doesn't it could get real bad real fast. And to your point, I'm of the mind right now. I don't think you bring any of the staff back next year. You start fresh. I don't care if you fire Coach Maneri and Monty takes over and they go on a just absolute glorious, storybook run. I don't think you bring anybody back, man. It's time to give this program a fresh paint job and get something new in there, because this just isn't working. Coaches from a different era that is not this one, and it is plain and obvious to see that anybody that watches these games.
He had so much success at LSU, but it was in a different time. It was granted, okay, his last few years at LSU, especially, I mean, he got, he retired in 21, but I feel like LSU was probably ready to move on from him. I mean, that was at the start of the transfer portal, and NIL really wasn't like what it is now. It's completely different now versus what it was then. And when he was coaching, I mean, like you had your guys for 3-4 years, and I don't know. I mean, it took him some time to get that program going. I mean, his first 2 years, he didn't win a College World Series until year 3. But this is a different team. This is a different project. He was brought in here because Mark Kingston, the biggest criticism with him, he could just not get over the hump. He got to a super regional twice and got within 2 wins of getting to Omaha his second to last year. The problem was he couldn't get to the top. So that was why Paul Maneri was brought in, to be the guy that could get them to Omaha. And this was not a bad roster when he took over. It was the team that went to a regional in 24 in Raleigh and had some success. Now, granted, you were losing a lot of those good players like Eli Jones, Cole Messina, players like that, Dalton Reeves. You were losing a lot of good talent from that 24 team. But you figured a guy like Paul Maneri, a guy that when you talk to players and why they commit to South Carolina, one of the typical answers I usually hear from last year and this year is, yeah, Coach Maneri is a Hall of Fame head coach, and why wouldn't you want to play for that kind of guy? That's true, but then you get into the season and it just feels like, again, it does feel lifeless out there. And to kind of go off this point here brought up by Adam, appreciate the comment. Paul's attitude is bad. You notice during games and after games. Yeah, I wasn't at the game on Tuesday. The crowd was abysmal. Not surprised. Not really fans. It's a 4:00 on a freezing day. Number one, this is a bad baseball team. But yeah, hearing Paul talk in the media availability afterwards, that sounds like a guy that just knows that time is running out and that it's just not going well. And then you see, like, in the dugout, like the vibe, like for you, and I want you to kind of share your viewpoint on what it was like playing for Coach Tanner, because I think that's relevant to right now. Like, what is he like when things are going good or bad? I mean, I'm sure he gets fired up and whatnot, but it probably never felt like lifeless. Because, like, I remember even last year when South Carolina beat LSU in that first game on that walk-off, everyone's all thrilled, excited, and then you got Paul Maneri, the broadcast shows him in the dugout just stone cold, just sitting there. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't really sound like an attitude that's going to inspire young men. But give me your viewpoint on how a coach can affect the team morale from your standpoint.
Yeah. I remember a stretch during that 2010 season when we lost, I believe it was 2 out of 3. I don't think we got swept by ECU, but we definitely lost the series to ECU, and then we lost the series to Clemson. And I remember that, Coach Tanner, we had there wasn't a player's only meeting, but Coach Tanner held, the offense back, and they had a meeting, and yeah, it seemed, there was some urgency to, hey, this right here is the moment of the season where you guys kind of have to decide as a team, what is this going to be? And we had some guys struggling at that point, and you saw Coach Tanner really take a hands-on approach to some of those guys. I remember Christian Walker. He was I forget exactly what the issue was, but something I had never heard a coach tell somebody. He was telling, he was working directly with Christian on. He said, hit the ball on the left side of the left field foul pole. He was telling him to hook it foul essentially during BP. And it's just those little things that, a coach with that kind of experience, you see and you notice, and you hope that Coach Maneri had some of that, because Coach Tanner wasn't the biggest rah-rah guy. I know you didn't coach him. Our mantra, from him was be vanilla. That was a big thing in our locker room, was be vanilla, especially with the media and stuff after the game and all that. He wasn't, like I said, he wasn't this huge, motivational speaker, you got those videos of Augie Guerrero, of Augie from Texas, and and some of those guys. That wasn't Coach Tanner. It was more dry. It was to the point, and your expectations were clear with him. I think that's what I'll always give Coach Tanner, is that your expectations were very clear. This is what I need from you. This is what I expect from you. And if you can't get it done, we will find who can. And it just feels like with this team, there's an expectation, but there's no solution on how to fix it. There's a lot of throwing spaghetti against the wall, which I think a lot is these lineups. I mean, we're getting a different lineup every day, and it looks insane sometimes compared to what you saw in the season. And again, guys are struggling, so you're trying to find different things. But I can't even explain what some of these choices are.
Watching the lineup they threw together on Sunday, I think I had texted you about it, man.
Yes.
It was like, let me pull up the lineup real quick because I want to make sure I have this right. The half the lineup, I'm just sitting there on Sunday. I'm just like, dude, what?
I got it right here.
Excuse my language. I'm like, what the hell is this? All right. So the lineup on Sunday was Will Craddock, Tyler Bach, KJ Scobie, Talmadge Lucroy. That's all normal, not anything there. Then it gets funky.
Well, I would say, to that point, Bach had been hitting 8 or 9 for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I want to ask you an important question after this. Jake Randolph hitting 5th, Aaron Jameson hitting 6th, Patrick Evans hitting 7th, Luke Uhas, who had the only runs of the day on a 3-run homer, hit 8th, and Jack Reynolds hit 9th. You mentioned leadoff. He's at 2nd. He's at 5th. He's at 8th. He's at 9th. He's at 7th. I mean, he's hit everywhere in this lineup. What does that do to a guy? Because, I mean, you're a pitcher, but, I'm sure you can speak to this to some extent. What does this do to the guy's mental state when he's just seeing, Like, I'm sure guys get comfortable in certain spots in the line. You don't see Florida flipping around the lineup every, waking hour of the day. It feels like a random name generator just puts the lineup together, or AI or Chat GBT gives the best lineup, and you just go with that. What does that do to the guys when they're just seeing their name just pop everywhere in the lineup? It's like all over the place. You don't know if you're playing one day because again, Bo Hollins went 2 for 4 on Saturday night, and then he gets benched and doesn't play the next 2 games. It's crazy.
I mean, that would be something if Coach Maneri was using Chat GPT, trying to connect with the younger audience on that. So what it does is it changes a player. I mean, a lot of this is first time through the lineup. Because after the first time through, it can go kind of either way, but it does change your approach. If you're in the middle of the lineup, you're expected to do damage. You're expected to get extra base hits, and you are going to be in more. In theory, you're going to be in more situations with runners on base, and that's a completely different mindset as a hitter than if you're hitting ninth. If you're hitting ninth, you're trying to turn the lineup over. You're trying to bunt for a hit, work a walk, slap a single. You are trying to get it back to the top. So we'll use Tyler Bach here for the example. Again, hitting in the 2-hole and hitting in the 9-hole are completely different roles. Again, he's hit, to your point, 5th, 6th, 7th. Like he is kind of bounced all over. And what I see, I don't know for a fact. What I see is he'll have games like, against Charlotte, he went 2 for 3 and scored 3 runs hitting in the 9-hole. And coach is like, well, I've got to get him up in the lineup. And then he moves him up in the lineup and he goes 1 for 4, 0 for 4. And okay, well, now I've got to drop him again. And it's like, okay, the rest of the lineup may be in shambles, outside of 1 or 2 guys. But if he's succeeding in that role, leave him there and try to figure out how you can fix the other parts. I think this is, and again, this comes from a struggling team, and you're trying to figure out what the best path forward is, but it's way too reactionary from game to game with these swings. Like I said, I mean, I'll see if I can dig into this a little bit, but like I would guarantee Tyler Bach's hitting better. His average is higher when he's hitting 8th or 9th in the lineup. I would guarantee it.
I'd probably agree with that.
And that's fine, because guess what? Most of the times you're hitting Will Craddock 1st or 3rd. And yeah, I'd love to see Tyler Bach get on in front of Will Craddock. That'd be great. And I think that's going to help. So like leaving him down there in the bottom of the order is not a terrible thing, because then, it's that old cliche of second leadoff man. I just think there's too much fiddling. And I mean, to your point, Bo Hollins has his best game of the year, going 2 for 4. And again, Bo's coming back from an injury. Maybe he tweaks something. But he goes 2 for 4 and he's on the bench for 2 straight games.
Now, important context.
Yep.
It seemed like he did miss a bunt sign or just chose not to bunt something, because there was a safety squeeze call and Bo didn't execute it.
Yep.
So we know how Paul operates. Like if you do something wrong, you're in the doghouse, and it's tough to get out of the doghouse. And Bo's struggling too, so that does not help his case. But he has a nice day against a pitching staff that you hit nothing against. And I get if you want to set the tone that if you make mistakes and don't listen, then yes, I understand that. It applies to a lot of things outside of just baseball. But at some point, look, the rules are the rules, but you got to, at some point, if he's hitting 2 for 4 and he's got 2 of your 5 hits on the entire weekend, my gosh, just play him. play him.
Well, I mean, there are levels to this. If it's a missed bunt sign, all right, yeah, you sit him down the next game, you get him back in there the next one. Like this, like it's not a capital. You make your point that if you are not playing, again, whether he missed it, chose not to, whatever, whether what you're doing is for the name on the back of the jersey instead of the front. And again, I'm not accusing Bo of maliciously doing this,
No.
but if you make a mistake like that, yes, there are consequences, and there should be levels to it. That's a game offense, or you take him out, or again, next game he's down. That's fine, but you get him back in the lineup, because when it's this multiple games things for a missed bunt sign, what are we doing? Like there's levels to all this, and I think this goes to a coach is from a different time, a different era of this game has changed. I mean, hell, this game has changed so much in the 15 years I've been away from the game. Yeah. Like it's a completely different game than it was when I was playing at school, in 2010, 2012. I mean, it is night and day with the differences that these kids are, the game itself is. And I just think Coach is as great as Coach is. To this point, I wouldn't want Coach Tanner coaching this group of kids. Like Coach Tanner's one of the greatest college baseball coaches of all time. He's not a coach for this era of baseball. And that's just I think we've got to adapt and move forward and get some new blood into this program to get it back to where it is. Because I mean, to your point, it was cold. It was a 4:00 game. That was an embarrassing crowd on Thursday, and that made the rounds on social media.
When you got national folks that are taking notice of it. I mean, we've seen how bad the crowds have been this year. Man, I mean, there probably were it had to have been like a couple hundred people there. Just not even. I mean, you could probably
I'd eyeball it at about 100.
Dude, you could probably find more people at a bar than
there were more people in 5 Points. There were more people in 5 Points guaranteed at 4:00 on Friday than there were at that baseball stadium.
Yeah. Real quick before we continue here, I got to talk to you guys about a new show sponsor, for the baseball coverage side of things. We're thrilled to have our friend Andy Ludicky sponsoring our baseball coverage this spring. He is a big baseball fan. And from his line of work, he has seen firsthand the fantastic traits that baseball players bring to the franchise world. If you're sick of your job, ready to leave the corporate rat race, want to diversify, build wealth, and or leave a legacy, have a job and want a side hustle, Andy can help you out. Andy is a franchise consultant as well as a franchise owner and helps people find franchises that fit their skill set, passions, and financial requirements. His services are 100% free, and he's here to help you if you have any questions about business ownership. So head to myperfectfranchise.net. Again, myperfectfranchise.net to learn more, or you can text or call Andy at 404-973-9901. Again, the number to call or text Andy Ludicky is 404-973-9901. Thank you, Andy. All right, let's flip over to this series this weekend. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this because I think we do not much to say here. I don't think we get a good crowd this weekend out there at Founders Park. I think Arkansas honestly could potentially outdraw South Carolina, and that's saying a lot because Arkansas is in the middle of the NCAA tournament right now for March Madness, and Arkansas is not a close trip. I mean, I've been out to Fayetteville. You've got to fly to get on out here either way. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of crowd you get on a Friday night. The weather should be better, but I'm not sure. Pitching matchups this weekend for South Carolina, you got Josh Gunther going tonight, Ant Phillips going tomorrow, and then our good friend TBA going on Sunday. As for Arkansas, Gabe Gackle going tonight. He is 2-1 on the year, 2.73 ERA, 31 strikeouts, 9 walks. South Carolina has seen him before over the last few years. Hunter Dietz going tomorrow tomorrow afternoon. Redshirt sophomore left-hander, 2-2 on the year, 4.18 ERA. 42 strikeouts, 8 walks, and then another lefty on Sunday, Colin Fisher 2-1 on the year, 1.95 ERA, 36 strikeouts, 5 walks. So a lot of guys on this pitching staff that can strike guys out. Pitching has always really been the strength of Arkansas. Last year, the hitting was much better, but the hitting this year kind of seems to, I don't want to say take a step back, but it seems to be much more in line with what we've seen under Dave Van Horn of this pitching staff. Will carry them, but the offense has got to show up. Let's look at South Carolina. The pitching this weekend, Gunther, Amp, not a surprise. It's TBA that's going to be interesting because you threw Riley Goodman the other day. He didn't look great. What do you do on Sunday? Because I'm assuming tonight is going to be Gunther and then probably like Valentine or Stone. What do you do on Sunday? I mean, do you just kind of do bullpen game? Do you give an unknown a chance to start and see what happens? What is your thought process?
I think if it kind of goes the way it did in the Florida series, where you get 2 good starts on Friday and Saturday, and you only use the kind of top end of your bullpen, then I would probably lean towards starting Philpott. Let him go 2 or 3, and then bullpen it after that. That would kind of be where I'm leaning. And in all honesty, I'd park Riley Goodman for a week, maybe even 2. Just he needs a reset. The 2/3 of an inning against Charlotte was a lot of the same. I think he is in his head a little bit. I would just do a full. I'd park Riley this weekend and probably park him through the midweek too. But all that say is I think it's Philpott on Sunday, unless you need him on Saturday because Amp doesn't get out of say Amp or even Josh. Either Amp or Josh has a short outing Friday or Saturday, and maybe you go to Philpott for a couple innings there. But I think that's probably your most realistic outcome is normal 2 starts Friday, Saturday. Hopefully the bullpen isn't taxed, which it hasn't been very much on Fridays and Saturdays this year. And you get Philpott up to 40, 50 pitches, and then you go bullpen after that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Gunther and Phillips fare against this Arkansas lineup. I mean, they pitched extraordinarily well against Florida over the weekend, but I think looking at this Arkansas lineup, I mean, there's some good hitters in this lineup. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. You really have your work cut out for you in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's necessarily something that these pitchers haven't seen before going up against Florida and doing what they did. And they're at home. That should help. Like, this is a good Arkansas lineup, but I don't think it's like from a pop standpoint, I don't think it's better than what you saw with Florida. So I think it's tough to expect South Carolina to just go out here and pitch the way they did again. But if they do, you have a great chance in this series.
Yeah, I think these guys should be more prepared to maybe for a little bit more of grind. I think Arkansas, I've caught them once or twice this year. I think they're going to be more. They're going to grind at bats a little bit more. There's going to be a little more, like you said, not as much. Looking for the home run that Florida seemed to be taking a lot of big hacks. But on Sunday they threw in a hit run. They got some things moving on Sunday. I think Arkansas could be more of a, we get a guy on, we steal a base, we bunt him a third, then we kind of manufacture some runs here. And you have the ability to do that. You have the luxury of doing that when you can rely on your starters to strike out at least over a batter an inning, which that staff does. So I think the pitching staff. It's all, a lot with especially our starters, a lot about location. They have big stuff when they need it, but I think what Gunther and Amp, especially his last couple outings, when they're locating and they're able to mix, when they're able to throw their secondary stuff for strikes, I think they're really effective, and they're a great 1-2 punch. And but again, there's your room for error is just a little smaller than it is for some of these Arkansas guys. You've got to kind of be on point with that. So I'm excited to see it. Josh Gunther right now for me is appointment watching that mix with his fastball, his cutter, his curveball. I love that little kick change he throws. And it's great watching on TV because I can see his knuckle up every time, and I'm like, oh, that kick change is coming. So I really enjoy watching him, work a lineup. But it is, again, it's all about throwing strikes, especially with that secondary stuff for him.
It's going to be a grind this weekend, I think, on the mound. And you're right. I think Arkansas is they're not going to hit a ton of homers. They may this weekend, who knows? But you are going to have to win these battles and these at-bats. And I think it's going to be I think it really is going to come down to South Carolina's bullpen at the end of the day, what you get out of those guys. Because I think if you can get 5 good innings out of Amp and Gunther, we'll see what you do on Sunday. But, I would realistically expect 5 or 6 innings, and hopefully they can limit the damage and then turn it over to this bullpen, which from there, I don't know what you do, but it's going to be tricky to get, I think, any win in this series, honestly. I think this is going to be a tough one for the Gamecocks. Let's dive into predictions as we start to close here. I'll go first. I personally just don't see it. I just don't see a way in which you're going up against a good pitching staff, number one, and these guys don't walk batters. They throw a lot of strikes. They're going to pound the zone. And that may play well to South Carolina because they don't really take walks, but they haven't shown me anything offensively. And until they do, I can't pick them to win because I just don't see it. And I think great as last weekend was for the pitching staff, I just can't see Gunther replicating that performance again. If anything, I think he's going to end up giving up a run or two. Arkansas's got a good team, top 5 in the country for a reason. They're going to get the job done this weekend. They're going to sweep South Carolina. I think the bad times are going to continue for this program, and I think they make it 8 losses in a row. And I think something has to change after this weekend. I've tried to be reluctant in calling for coaching changes. I'm not necessarily calling for one, but I am saying something of the sort has got to change after this weekend if you get swept. You can't go through the rest of the season. You can't. I'm not, honestly, and I'm not thrilled to go to the ballpark this weekend. I am.
Yeah.
I would rather be doing anything else, but it's my job, number one, which is fine. But I'm not getting excited to go to the ballpark this weekend. I would rather go do something else. And that's the tough reality. And then you got to sit here for 2 more months of this. I just think, and from a fan base perspective, they're done. They are done.
Yeah.
And I think until you do something different, whether it is moving on from Pulmonary or I don't even know what else, maybe shift something up. I mean, I just don't know what you do to energize this fan base. And I don't know if there is anything to do until after the season. So I'm taking South Carolina to get swept this weekend by Arkansas. Maybe they could steal a game, but your offense has to show up. And until I see it, I'm not picking them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the biggest what you'd be the most nervous about from the starter, especially Gunther and Amp, is because the offense has been so bad. You're going in with the mindset I've got to be perfect, and that when you're trying to be perfect on the mound, it can lead to more misses than usual. You're trying to nibble. You get an umpire that doesn't have a favorable zone, and then we're back in the we're walking guys and free passes, and then serve it up, and big multi-run innings. But I'm there with you. I can't trust this offense. This offense has not given any inclination that's going to wake up and going to give this pitching staff some reprieve. And I think you're starting to see a little bit of that, especially in this past midweek game. I just think these guys are pressing because of an offense that is up until this point been inept. And to what you're saying, Jack, there are 27 more conference games. And, we didn't get to this point last year, I'd say, until, about a month left in the season, I think is when we started to be like, oh boy, this is getting a little rough. And because you kept beating the midweek guys, you kept winning those midweek games and putting a hurting on those teams, and so there was a little bit of want to there. But I mean, there are 27 conference games left, and some not easy midweek games left. I'm with you. This is proven to be, this might be a tough one, to your point. And to just save the team itself from just imploding, a change might have to be made if our predictions are correct this weekend, that if the guys get swept, just to save any kind of chance of anything this year, something might need to change.
I hate to even ask, but we'll add a bonus prediction, because I think what we're both hinting at, it's like it's fair to. I think it's fair game to ask: is Paul Mainieri South Carolina's head coach next Friday when the team heads to Georgia?
Yes, because I have not seen anything from this administration to think otherwise. Do I think that should be the case? No, but until AD Donati shows that he will make a change,
And be proactive.
and until he shows that, I will kind of like with this offense. I've got to see it to believe it. So my prediction is Coach Mainieri will be the head baseball coach next Friday.
Yeah, I agree. I just think if there is a time to make something happen and do something different, it's probably after this weekend. If you get swept. Now, if you go out here and play a competitive series and you win a game but you lose the next two, it's not good to lose a series, and it's not good to go off to a 1-5 start. But it at least shows that you can't fire a guy after a series where it's like, okay, like if you come close to winning 2 of 3, you're not moving on from him. Honestly, there's part of me that just thinks this is going to be kicked down the curb till the end of the season. But should that be the case? Not necessarily if they start off 0-6, because the record is going to be under 500 if they get swept. And honestly, man, there's still 2 months left to go in this thing. Like you said, we're 3 SEC games in. There's still 27 games to go. Give yourself a fighting chance at least, just to see if something different can happen. If maybe someone else is calling the shots here, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
I mean, to what you're saying, I think what's disheartening because, and I don't have the stat in front of me, so I may fudge it a tad, but I believe this is correct, is that they have not won a Sunday SEC game.
Nope. Have not won
since Coach Mainieri took over. They have not won on Sunday. So unless you win on Friday and Saturday, you usually do not win the series if you are a South Carolina baseball player right now. So I think that's just incredibly defeating to feel like, if we don't win on Friday and Saturday, we're going to lose the series.
You're going to get swept if you lose on Friday and Saturday. I mean, it's crazy. It's wild that we are talking about this being even worse right now. And again, it's not even the halfway point of the season. So, I mean, it's going to be a long rest of the year if it continues to be like this. But
we'll be there with you all every step of the way.
We are going to push through. We'll make it through. We'll make it as enjoyable as we can. But yeah, hopefully the product on the field is better this weekend. You got to hope so. You got to hope so. So first pitch tonight, 7 p.m. SEC Network Plus. All 3 games this weekend are on SEC Network Plus. Tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. in the middle game of the series, and then 1:30 first pitch on Sunday afternoon at the ballpark. And then after that, man, scheduling gets tougher. You don't have an easy game really until maybe I would say Davidson, and that is April 14th, man. You go to Missouri April 9th through the 11th, and then you got College of Charleston in there, Wofford. I mean, this schedule is going to be tough. And I say Missouri might not be easy because you're going to Missouri, and Missouri's actually playing. They got swept over the weekend by Auburn, man, but they played.
Auburn's got that thing rocking right now. They showed. I think that was the photo I saw was, they showed Auburn's stadium presence and then our stadium presence side by side, and it's
night and day, dude.
What happened? We know what happened, but
it's going to be interesting to see what the ballpark looks like this weekend. But nonetheless, the schedule only gets tougher from here. So that's going to do it for now for us. We will be back. Let's see, when's the next? So Friday's the next game against Georgia. I will be on the road to Athens, but we will do our Thursday show. Barring anything else that comes up, we will be back next Thursday on our normal slot. So that's going to do it for us for now. For Jack Veltri and Ethan Carter, take care, guys. Appreciate you joining us as always, and we'll see you next week. Bye.